Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Dr. Kelly Henry, business coach and consultant.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Ann. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. We'd like to welcome you to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, we're happy to have Dr. Kelly Henry, and he is a business coach and consultant. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Lori Ann. Appreciate it. I'm excited to be on your fantastic podcast.
Thank you. You know, we've interviewed some other guests, and customer service is really becoming a topic.
As well as should.
Well, and you know, for a long time, everything was automate this, automate that, no human contact. We don't want to talk to you, just go online and all this. It appears that trend is changing more to the personal touch, because I think people are getting tired of punching one and all this stuff. They'd rather somebody say, "Hello, how can I help you?" "Yes, I will connect you with such and such." Is that what you're
Absolutely. That there is a trend going back that direction. And I'm sure it'll find a balance between automation and technology, but also having that human touch. And the businesses on the forefront of great customer service are seeing that and starting to balance that out a little bit.
How's that worked in your business for you?
Well, I'm more on obviously the human touch side of things. So I'm a proponent of that, regardless of technology and how valuable that is and will continue to be. I mean, we can't ignore that, but you cannot underestimate the importance of human touch, human interaction, being friendly, doing all the things from a human standpoint and making your customers feel valuable. So that's my sweet spot, if you will. Not so much the technology side, which is important, and I touch on that with my clients, but it's vastly on the human touch side of things.
Now, did you start out in your business that way, or is that something you had to cultivate and develop?
Well, that's an interesting story. I'm a retired chiropractor. I practiced for 20 years, had multiple locations. I moved to an area in New Mexico where my wife was from, and bought out a chiropractor. This is in the late 90s. And smaller community in New Mexico, a lot of businesses that had been established and were there for many years, didn't have a whole lot of competition. So when we moved to this community, started interacting with these companies, a lot of them didn't have great customer service. They could flip on the lights and you had to do business with them and they could treat you however. And that just bugged me to no end. So I made a pretty clear decision within just a few weeks of being in this particular community that my practice was going to be different. We're going to treat our patients and value them and make them feel important. And I didn't do it as a strategy to build my practice or to do anything other than I just hated being treated a certain way. So I was going to be different and treat my patients and make them feel like they were the most important person in my office. Well, lo and behold, we started getting feedback and the patients loved it and my employees loved it, and that piqued my interest, and I started studying it and implementing new practices and new processes and refining it, and ultimately that's where I am now and teaching my system to other business owners so they can grow and profit their businesses.
Yeah, and that works for all types of businesses, correct?
For the most part, yes, because the principles are the same across the board.
Yeah, not just chiropractors. So
no, not just for chiropractors. No. So.
Well, I remember I went to a sales training one time. It may have been way back in the 80s even, and there was a guy that was a car salesman. He was extremely successful. I mean, it was like crazy over all of his other competitors. And one of the things he said that he started out, and he said he just did it because growing up, his mother taught him, always send people a thank you card, always do these things, So when his customers would come in and buy a car, he would just have a little note card and he'd say, John Smith, wife Mary, 3 kids, he was a dry cleaner, whatever. And he got his birthday off the transaction, and every year he would send these people a birthday card. Or if he knew about their kids or wife, he'd say, oh, I see your son graduated, congratulations. And that's what he did. And just because he grew up, that's what his mother taught him, be nice and all this stuff. And when I interviewed people, they said they liked this guy because he cared about them. They would get a birthday card, or they'd get a Christmas card. Hey, how you doing? Oh, is your son graduated from school yet? Just little things like that. And so they would always go back to him, and they referred other people to him.
And basically, you're summing up my coaching and consulting.
Really?
It's caring for people. It's learning how to care for people and make them feel valuable. But it doesn't have to be difficult and hard. How hard was it for that salesman to write down, the information, understand and build that relationship and have the birth date and do those simple things? That didn't take much to do that, but it has profound effects. And that's my coaching. Let's do the simple things. Let's do these simple things that are going to create massive results in your business in regards to better customer service. That's my whole philosophy.
Yeah.
Speaking of trends, one thing, I was in the automotive industry for 15 years. And one thing that I noticed is that they sort of moved from the numbers, which there's always going to be the numbers, obviously, but they put an amazing amount of emphasis on the CSIs and the KPIs, and bonuses were added to that if they had the high customer service responses. So really interesting, where it used to be just all about the money, but then it moved towards that customer service in the last few years.
Well, if you look at the numbers, customer retention is driven by great customer service. And that's where your numbers get padded and grow exponentially. If you're just in business to make another sale, to make another transaction, you're not going to retain customers. Yeah, you can pump people through, but they're not going to stick with you. They're going to go to your competition. They're going to be out the door. They're going to have wandering eyes. When you build relationships, when you have great customer service, it creates that retention, and that's what ultimately will significantly grow and profit business.
Relationships over transactions win every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so many people want to do transaction.
Exactly. I call it the hamster wheel of business. They advertise, market to get new customers in, they make a sale, they forget about that customer leaves, they have to market more to get more new customers in, and it's just this never-ending hamster wheel that really makes it difficult to sustain a business that way. When you're building relationships, you're building your business for the future.
It's a lot more pleasant too. It is. I remember enjoying seeing my customers come back, and then you know them a little bit more. So, and it grows as you go along. The longer you're there, the more you almost become like friends with them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. People do business with people they know and trust. So if they know and trust you, they're going to continue to do business with you. If they know and trust you, they're going to tell their family, their friends, or their acquaintances, hey, go do business with them. They'll treat you right. They got a great product, a great service, but they're going to make you feel like you're a special person. And you can't beat that kind of marketing.
No, you can't. I know in my business, sometimes you had to deliver bad news, and so, but I know that they always appreciate the fact that I would call them and say, look, I got some bad news to tell you. This is what happened. This is what I'm trying to do to fix it. I'll call you back. I'll let you know what I find out, and they always said, at least good or bad, you always called, you told us the truth, and you always followed through with what you said you were going to do. So when you gave them the bad news, it wasn't quite so bad, so to speak.
Well, that's gold. That's gold right there. That communication. That aspect right there. If businesses just improve their communication, the speed of it, and then also bad news, good news, just communicate, over communicate.
Yeah.
The consumer loves that. They like that. They want that. They want to know they want to be part of the loop and have an understanding of what's going on a regular basis. And that makes a world of difference. Yeah,
because it's frustrating when you ask somebody, well, did you talk to so-and-so? I sent an email.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did you call them? Well, no, I sent an email. Okay, but did you follow up and you hadn't heard back from them? Did you call? Well, I sent them an email. or I left him a voicemail.
That's right.
That's like, oh, I did my job. I sent an email. No. You got to stay with it. You got to get on that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So that in my business, in my chiropractic business, that was one of the things that I talked to my employees about. Let's communicate, but patient missed an appointment. I'd ask them the same thing. Did you talk with them? Well, I left a voicemail. Well, okay, then we'll keep calling them until you get them on the phone, see how they're doing, and let them know that we are there for them. So voicemails don't count. It's communicating with them that not a one-sided communication. It's got to be a two-way street. So.
Well, that's kind of like, hey, I did my job. I left them a voicemail.
Right. I sent a text.
I did something.
That's right.
No, you really didn't.
Yeah, that's right.
But just like I have a dentist, and my wife had some wisdom teeth cut out like late on one Friday night. She got home about 10 o'clock, and she was in a lot of pain and stuff. Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, she was crying. It's hurting. So I called the 24-hour number. Dentist called right back. What's the matter? He said, okay, tell her to take a couple of Tylenol and take a tea bag and put on there. It should stop the bleeding. And I said, okay. He said, if call me back if you need to. So about 7 o'clock that morning, he calls. Hey, this is, Dr. So-and-so. I just want to see how's your wife doing. I said, well, she's still asleep. He said, when she wakes up, see how she's doing and call me back and tell me. I said, okay. So I called him back. She seems to be okay. She's a lot better than she was. He said, well, all right. Just if anything happens, call me. Don't hesitate to call me. So Sunday morning, he calls back. How's your wife? I said, oh, she's good. Everything's great. No problems. He said, okay, well, don't hesitate to call if you have any problems. And I'm thinking, wow, it wasn't a nurse. It wasn't an assistant. It wasn't a hygienist. It was the actual doctor, And I thought, man, I couldn't believe it.
You just said it there. Wow. When you have that wow moment with the business, you're gonna stick with them for a long time. So
yeah.
I had when I was in practice, I give my cell phone number out to my patients, for an emergency or on a weekend. And I only lived about 6 minutes from the clinic, so it was no big deal. And maybe once a month I'd get a call. And I learned this from one of my business coaches. So this is nothing I came up with, but patients were so grateful, on a Saturday morning, and they were just dire pain and not having to either go to the emergency room or wait till Monday before I had office hours again, where I'd come down and treat them, get them through the weekend. They were eternally grateful. And, I just felt obligated because, I don't want people to be in pain, and pain doesn't stop on a weekend. So I want to be able to be there for them. And it was no big deal to me, but it was sure a big deal to the patient that I was able to help out over the weekend. So it's just those little things that, like you said, make the customer, the patient, the client say, wow, they have my back. They're not just here for money. They're here for me and to take care of me and make me feel like I'm valuable.
Yeah. I'm important to you.
I'm important.
They trust that. And you wrote a book.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. It's entitled Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service, Maximizing Your Profits. It's a success manual, if you remember the name of it, crying out loud. So it's not full of fluff. It's just full of principles, ideas, actions that a business can take hold of to immediately improve their level of customer service. And most of these ideas and information and the principles come out of what I learned in practice and what I've added over the last few years and different things. But my principle is just doing the simple things consistently. And that's what this book is about. It's not, it's not making customer service hard. It's doing things that don't take a whole lot of training. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. It's just having the mindset that we're here for the customer first. Let's do these things consistently. And then let's not only have better relationship with our customers, but we're going to have a better business. We're going to have a growing business, and we're going to have a more profitable business. So that's basically the book in a nutshell.
You know, it's interesting you said being consistent, because in almost anything you do, if you're consistent, you're going to succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Consistency is the key. And like you said, you know, that goes to anything in life. If you want to get in better shape, lose weight, be healthier, have better relationships, you know, whatever the case may be, you have to be consistent working towards those things. So, and that's, you know, I preach that a lot from a consulting side, that, you know, you can't make customer service the flavor of the month. All right. This is not a department. This is a culture that you should have in your business. That is a philosophy and a principle, a foundation, if you will, that is lifelong, or should be there for the life of that business. That really basically everything else is built upon, because it will influence everything else in the business: sales, marketing, how your employees interact with customers, how your employees feel working for the business. You know, less complaints, all these different things. If you'll adopt this culture and be consistent with working towards better customer service, you're going to have a better business.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that too, consistency, even in exercise or whatever. And it doesn't have to be full blown 3 hours in the gym. It can be like 20. So it could be just that letter, or it could just, that consistency happens even with small things.
Absolutely. And what's usually the case is when you start off with those small things. So going back to my chiropractic self, you know, talking to patients about health, you know, getting chiropractic adjustments does play into that, but they also needed to exercise a little bit and eat a little bit better, and, you know, drink more water and take some supplements, you know. And we talk about exercise, and just like you said, you know, let's not, you know, yeah, I need to exercise, you know, I need to exercise an hour and a half every day. No, you need to just start by walking for 5 minutes, or walk around the block 3 times a week. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And then when you start feeling better and you start seeing the benefit from that, then you can add in maybe a little weight training, you know, and then maybe you can jog a little bit, or whatever the case may be. But it's just doing those little things, and then you start seeing the benefits and seeing the repercussions, because you've taken the little steps consistently. And now you want to do more. Same thing with customer service. Let's do these little things and start seeing the benefits and how your customers respond, because you're doing these little things, and there's that shift. And then you'll want to start adding new things in, because you're seeing how beneficial this is. So it's the little things done consistently that will create major results.
Small steps every day, right?
Amen.
So when you're working with a new client, I mean, obviously they come to you, they need help.
Correct.
So they're coming to you to get your knowledge and experience, right? But when you start working with those people, you know, do you get pushback from some of them?
Oh yeah. What's funny is most businesses that I talk to that are inquiring about becoming a client, and even the clients, they all feel like they provide great customer service. You know, that, well, you know, there's really not much to be able to help me with, you know, what can we do?
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, though, the vast majority of businesses provide at best average level of customer service, just down to terrible. That's across the board. And what we found is most businesses have a piece of great customer service here and there. And they latch onto that and think, okay, we provide great customer service because we do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But once we dig deeper, it's, you know, they don't do it consistently. They have no mission statement. They have no training that is done consistently. They don't have a culture that's focused on customer service. So once we start peeling back the onion, you know, and not trying to point fingers and make them feel bad, but once they understand that it's really a whole lot deeper than what, you know, really what they're seeing on the surface, then we can reconstruct it and make it a whole lot better. But to answer your short question with the long answer, yes, I get pushback regularly, and then we kind of go through that discovery process that, okay, maybe this isn't quite as good as we thought it was.
Yeah, they reach that aha moment, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, this isn't as good as I thought. So,
yeah, but it's got to be pretty rewarding to you when you work with someone, and then and they tell you in a month or two later, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how much.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, without sounding cliche, really the underlying principle or underlying idea that I worked upon is when you provide better customer service, you make people feel important, like you said. Well, when you do that, when I made people feel important coming through my chiropractic office and they left my office, that ripples out. They feel better. They'll interact in a more positive way with their family, friends, their employees, whatever the case may be. So it ripples out, and in a way, it's making your community, your town, the world a little better place. So ultimately, that's what we're doing. So that's the most rewarding thing. That we're making the business more profitable, and they're doing better. The owners love that, but ultimately, we're helping society in a sense because we're adding value and making people feel special and important, and people are starved for that these days. So if we can be a ray of sunshine and a piece of positivity in somebody's life, then that's reward in itself.
So I have a question. Do you also deal with your customers on how to deal with frustrated customers?
Yes.
Because I do have to say, I think I win one of the awards. I was 6.5 hours on the phone, and I did not lose my cool, and I was nice, and I was being transferred. And I sent them a nice little graphic saying I won the award for best customer.
And they should have sent you a trophy or something for that kind of thing. That's a marathon of the phone, Brad.
It was. And
yes.
Said it, but I could have become easily irritable. And I told him, I said, I'm surprised I've, managed to keep it this way. But that I would imagine is something that's good to be trained on, because
it is. That's part of what my coaching consulting is about. What businesses have to understand is it's not word of mouth anymore. It's word of mouse, MOUSE, meaning on the computer. So it doesn't take much for a frustrated customer to get behind the computer and throw something on Facebook or social media or Yelp or Google, whatever the case may be. And that doesn't go to 2 or 3 people. That goes to 2,000 or 3,000, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, depending on their influence. So you have to understand that. And I learned that from one of my customer service gurus, John DeJulius. He's the one that I think coined that phrase. It's word of mouth these days. So that's not something I've come up with, but that is an idea that businesses have to understand. And so you have to be very good at taking care of a frustrated customer, even if it's the customer's fault, and certainly if it's the business's fault. And you have to do that in a very specific manner, do it quickly, do it efficiently, take care of them to their satisfaction. But the funny thing of that, and the other side of that coin is, if you'll do it in a very specific manner and make that customer feel valued, even though the business may have dropped the ball, or even if the customer did, they have a different level of loyalty that they'll have for that business. It brings them up a notch or two, and they'll really champion that business because, hey, I had, the business dropped the ball, but man, they were all over it, took care of it, made me feel important, and even exceeded my expectations in what had happened. And I'm never going to leave this company. And you should go work with this company because of how they dealt with it. So again, I get winded on these things. So answer a short question again. Yes, it is extremely important to be able to handle frustrated customers in a very specific way.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
We took a lot of training on that. In regards to that, and it's all about listening, and even if it's not your fault, you just sit there and still listen. But there's so many more components to it, so that's why I was interested. We don't
Absolutely.
When we talk about customer service, we talk about what we should do, but we also have to deal with that aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, I call it proactive customer service, not reactive customer service. Most businesses play reactive customer service, where if they're in the right mood, if the customer's in the right mood, if it's the right day, it's Friday afternoon, if the sun is shining, if the economy's good, then, we'll treat customers well. That's not how it works. We're going to treat the customer like the most important person in this business, irregardless of anything else going on. Even my own personal problems and issues, those need to be pushed aside, for the time being while I'm in front of these customers, and focus on them, talk to them, communicate, build a relationship, make them feel valuable. So you've got to be proactive, have that decision that no matter what, we're going to be there for the customer and make them feel valuable and important.
Well, Kelly, how can our listeners reach out to you?
Well, the easiest way is through my website, which is drkellyhenry.com. So drkellyhenry.com. You can find out about my book, and I may have to go to my website and check back up on my book and remember what I wrote. At least the title of it, right out loud. So define and deliver exceptional customer service. So that's embarrassing, but anyway, we can laugh about it. But you find about my book, find about my programs, a little more about me and my background. You can also schedule a call if you would like to inquire about my services and how I could help your business. And then also I have a free PDF on my website that you can download, and it's my 5 top actions that any business can take to immediately improve their level of customer service. And then again, this just goes back to the simple things. 5 simple actions that a business can almost immediately implement, and it's going to improve their level of customer service. So again, drkellyhenry.com.
Great.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate being here today.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you again.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure too. So thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.